Awesome. Got it. So today we're going to cover really 4 things. First reason or first thing we're going to cover is why we're here today, why we're covering, why we're doing this. I found that in a lot of what we do in real estate, just in life in general, if we have a why behind the activities, a why behind the learning, it just helps us integrate what we're taking into our business. And part of that why might be our kids, it might be our retirement, it might be our goals, it might be other things that motivate us and move us. But I found that if you have that why, and then you have like, hey, this is how I'm doing my business, whether it's an SOI as the main driver, whether it's cold calls, whether it's farming, whatever that aspect is, then you can find a way to fit this into that lead generation model, right? Because all we're going to talk to you guys about today is goals and systems. The work still has to be done by us individually, right? So if you guys don't mind sharing, I can start us off. The reason why I'm doing real estate is really to have a quality of life that allows me to spend time with my kids on their specific schedule, and ultimately, like Rick, to build a life of financial freedom, to be able to do what we want, when we want, any fashion style that we want to do it, all of it with my wife and kids, right? You know, not strangers and friends too. But yeah, that's why we're here. So when you take that big picture of a why, and maybe, I don't know, I'm not gonna cry, but thinking about my kids, thinking about my mom, thinking about my wife, thinking about the extended family and the experiences that we really want to enjoy, then it becomes, how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to do it through real estate. I'm going to do it through selling real estate, being a key professional. I'm going to do it through investing in real estate, like we've talked about with Coach John. And we're going to build that bubble, that ecosystem to help support that vision. Okay, great. So how am I'm not an investor yet, though. How do I create the revenue to get to that point? Well, I'm going to do it through real estate sales, right? And I have my goals. Specifically, last year we hit a good chunk of those goals. This year we're ratcheting those goals up. And if we all know the 1 rule of 5, that is practice, that is personal and professional development with practice, that's lead generation, that's lead follow-up, that's appointment setting and being on appointments, and that's negotiating contracts ultimately. So if all else fails and that's all you did, success, right? Now we're going to teach systems, which is part of that professional development. And those systems say, okay, well, I'm going to do it through real estate. I'm going to pick 4 lead generation pillars, and we all have whatever we use. I'm working with Rick. We're doing sphere of influence. We're calling around listings. That's 2 very solid pillars, and we have some marketing around that. Others of us might add in cold calls on top of the circle prospecting aspect. We might level in notice defaults. We might focus on door knocking, a variety of different things. Then it becomes, after that, and I'm sorry for going this in tiers and levels, but then it becomes, okay, now I'm learning about KW Command, I'm learning about car.org. Why am I learning this stuff? Well, the key is to help make things more efficient, whether we're a solo agent or whatever it is that we're doing. How do we become more efficient at it, right? So stop me at any point. But I'm going to go into asking anyone who want to volunteer why they're in real estate, why they're doing what they're doing, or anyone on Zoom for that matter, if you guys want to raise your hands too. Mona. And
so I always worked in sales, and I felt like I really loved it. I loved getting to like interact with people and meet people. And I felt like out of all the job careers possible, that it would be like the best fit for me. And I wanted to do it in a higher scale because I was working in retail. And
that's great. There you go. And keep that in front of you. And then when you look at your real estate business, we go into our lead generation pillars. Without it, I mean, I've talked to different people, and God bless Emilio, because you have what I don't have. Like we can both get to work, but then you know how to like build a system around it. I did the reverse, right? I went to work and never built a system around it. I just kind of took on all the training and whatever worked for that time. I just kind of filled it in, and that's how I created my systems, if you want to call it that. How about anyone else besides Mona would like to share? Rick?
So you kind of hit on it earlier, but what I've always been interested in real estate. I've had rentals, sold them, tried to figure out the timing of buying and selling, and but as I got to know real estate more, I became curious to being an agent, and it just made better sense for me as I got older and trying to get out of the whole physical work that I've been doing all my life. But being a single dad of twins, I can work my schedule around their needs.
Yep.
Which is great, because I don't have a lot of time. You know, a lot of you parents would understand that, especially with 2 daughters. It's like I have barely any time. So if I can work a solid, 3 hours in a day, real estate's the way to go.
Yeah, leverage out the rest
Yeah.
as much as possible. And that's part of the key here is leverage. How do we leverage resources? I mean, we're not all coming into the business and hiring the staff off the bat, and that's just not feasible. But the idea of coming in and leveraging CAR, how do we write an offer? Does anyone here write an offer in less than 5 minutes? You know, I mean, so we were showing that.
Are you saying you did?
I do.
Teach me.
Well, so this is what happened. My first offer took me 4 hours to write it. I was like, oh my God, what happened? Everything deleted. Nothing was saved. And I realized I was writing everything on template, not on a regular form. And then most embarrassing thing, and God bless her, she was in KW, she's like, Philip, you didn't actually put an offer price in here. You just put a dead amount. So it's not even technically an offer. And I was like, oh, how embarrassing. But so it took me 4 hours to write my first offer. And even my first offer that got accepted, there were so many mistakes. The listing agent, God bless him, he countered all the mistakes. So it was essentially like a clean offer once we started escrow. And so I was like, oh my Lord, if this is real estate, I won't have a family life, right? Half the day you're prospecting, the morning you're prospecting, the afternoon you're fumbling through the stuff. So I became like what do they call it, gym rat at the board. I would just go to their classes, bring my heavy laptop, plug it in, and then just watch Kit or I forgot the other gal's name, but I would just watch them run CAR, run MLS, whatever was free, whatever they were having. And I was there for, I don't know, like 6 months, even the repeat stuff. I never went to the stuff at night. It was a little hard, but anything during the day, I made that my listing appointment. Right now it's a little easier. All this stuff's on Zoom. Here with Forward Living Calabasas, it's like we get this stuff almost every day from different places. So I thought of it as, okay, leads, listings, leverage. I'm not going to hire anyone, no money to do that, but I can leverage technology, right? So I'm on the CAR website right now. This is what it typically looks like. If you ever wanted to get your photo here, you just click on it and you can actually take a photo of yourself sitting on a chair and they'll superimpose it onto the website.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so you actually don't have to be a veteran agent, just take a really cool photo of yourself sitting down and they'll impose it onto that screen. Yay, and it'll say from Calabasas, member since whatever you tell them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you log into transaction and this will be like the first technical item we'll cover. I know it's supposed to be command, but you got your offers down. We were showing 10 homes or whatever it is. And, from 10 homes, you boil it down. You know how it goes. You boil it down to a top 2 or a top 3. And if your average time is 45 or say 30 minutes per offer to type everything, key it back in, copy, paste, whatever, that's an hour and a half to write 3 offers potentially. What if you could knock out the homes, pull into a parking space, load up your laptop and just go through, and in 15 minutes, you're done with 3 offers, right? So we're going to do that real quickly. And the way I do it, I already have the template set up, so I'll have, I don't think I can see it here the way my thing is. Let's see if this is still open.
Is this on Zoom also or not?
Oh, yeah, it's on Zoom.
Is it recorded?
Yeah, it's being recorded. Oh, thanks, man. You're so kind, man. Thank you. You're the real hero. Real MVP.
What about us?
Exactly.
Like cocktails.
What about everyone else?
Sorry, I've got like all these windows open. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, no, it's right here. Oh, I opened it too many times. Here we go. All right, so you're on the CAR website. And when my computer loads up, you can go to templates. Oh, so it's not loading onto the screen, it's loading on here.
So these are templates on to make it easier to fill out your contracts?
Let me see if I can change the share screen to the proper screen here. There we go. There it is. All right. So when I write an offer, I just go to transactions now, hit new listing, type in this case, we'll just put in practice. I can spell practice, right? Practice. And then I go to residential and you see it says auto. It just goes right into residential listing contract. That's already a preset. I copy and paste the MLS number under MLS Connect, which a lot of us may know already. And then I have either Realist or RPR open. I copy and paste the seller name. Listing agents love it because it shows like, hey, I'm dealing with Joey, who apparently knows how to like access proper information. I don't have to counter them on the name and all this stuff. We're ready to go. And that's just the basic, right? Now we're going to go into the actual preparing a template right next to transaction, or if you're on this page for your dashboard, that's the first page you see. Hover over templates, click that. And this is where you're going to build it one time, and all of pretty much every deal you may encounter outside of something that might need a special addendum form, you can always add that later. If you click on new, you're going to create a new purchase or offer. And I'm going to just title this practice KWFL. I'm going to call it residential. I already have templates already, but we're just going to do a brand new blank one. Once you go to that template that you're creating, and if you notice, mine just said general purchase agreement, nothing extraordinary about it.
So, Philip, on that, it says auto apply, do not automatically apply this template to the transactions, do we want it?
Yeah, just go to like a brand new setting there. So, wait, are you on your templates or under transactions?
So I'm kind of following with you, but it gives you this option on the bottom.
Oh, it went away. But yeah, you're good. Whatever you did to just keep it blank, because you might have a template already and it's trying to apply that template. But you're good there. And then the forms that you want to add are really just two forms. One is the cover sheet, once that adds in, and then the other one is the new. It's just a dot on it, but it's the California Residential Purchase Agreement. I think in years past, it was super easy. It was just the one that said residential purchase agreement. They should just remove it, right? It's kind of confusing. But these are really it. And then because it's a buyer side, I'll put in the BCO, the buyer counter offer. 9 times out of 10, we're being countered. So just have that ready to go. And you could add an addendum page here. But if you're writing the addendum along with the RPA, there's literally a checkbox. You click that, it'll add the addendum form. There's a ton of disclosures. I leave that really to the TC. And whether you're working with Mina or someone outside, generally they're going to ask you for your username and password to access your car form. And then they upload all the disclosures that are needed for that transaction. And they have their templates and forms. So if all you wanted to do were just these 3 basic items, you're good. And I know when you're dealing with agents, like, well, it's an FHA loan. You're right. When you're on the contract, you click FHA, it just adds the addendum. If you click VA, it adds the same addendum to the contract, right? Now on your cover sheet, you're typically at least going to have one buyer, right? So check the box for the one buyer. You're going to at least have one seller. And then when you go down, this is the part that would kill me, and it's something super simple. But under buyer or escrow information, I'll put, I'm a homer, so Pacific Coastline escrow, or always add the or seller's choice. It's like one less item for you to counter on. In my previous office, I did get the escrow, even though we were on the buyer side, because the agent was from like somewhere up north. They're like, oh, yeah, I forgot you guys do escrow down here. I'm like, oh yeah. So we got an escrow. We got them to do it at Brahms Escrow at the time. And you go through escrow company. Where's the other information on here?
Sorry, is it the California? The new one.
The new one. So you have to type in California.
Oh, it's the
in
California.
Yeah.
1221. That one.
That's the one.
Thank you.
Welcome. And then here under buyer's broker information, you just key in all your information now. That's what they ask you on the forms anyway to make the valid contract, is putting all of your information in there. So take a moment and type that all in. I'm going to do just a real basic one. Keller Williams. Yeah, I have all these offices here. Calabasas. Forgive me, I don't remember the DRE. 01-872-625. That's the one. Awesome. My DRE. Plug that in the whole time. You can go through street address. And Parks Rents on here. There you go. And you just go through all that information, your cell number, email address. if you put in your email address off the bat, it's a lot easier for DocuSign. When you get to that point, it's already pre-filled on here. And ditto for when you're working with your buyers on these offers, you really just need their first and last name plus their, and I'll show you how to do that when we do the 5-minute offer or less. And then appraisal title information, you still need to have the title company on there. So I'll have Fidelity National Title, Ben and Costa, JV Angel, or Seller's Choice, always that or on there. I'll leave NHD, really snap NHD. I guess you could leave that all in there, or Seller's Choice. And then again, it's whoever your preferred partners are. Home warranty, for me, it's usually home, Old Republic Home Protection, or Seller's Choice. This is the one we normally get. I don't know about you guys. Are you guys getting the home warranty that they just say, hey, we'll give it to you, just tell us what kind of protection you want, or just go ahead and order it and give us the bill?
I have a question. Is this a generic one, or is this like for every client you make a new one?
No, so this is the generic one, and then this is the template, and then based on the client's needs, I mean, for example, some homes, some purchases, we might not have a home warranty plan, so I just, delete it out. That's easy to do, and then go from there. So you'll, especially in this market, and the way they have the contract set up now, if it were like a probate situation, there's actually the checkbox. You click it, it'll give you the addendum for that. Or if it's like an RCSD where you're dealing with a trust as the seller, it's already built into the RPA. So you don't have to have those templated out, or you don't necessarily have to add it in. It's already part of the agreement off the bat. And then some items here that make it a little easier to write the counter offer. And you'll notice some of it sort of gets really pre-filled. So my information would be here, right? And then if I wrote in my name, Philip, it would show up here automatically from the template. Some of the items that you would want here checked off. So you leave the date prepared blank, because that always changes. The offer from the buyer always changes, property always changes. Now, the presets you want is the seller is represented by whoever their listing agent is, and the buyer is always represented by us, right? So we're just going to have this preset. And if you notice, it already has our DRE information on here. Didn't have my name because I didn't put in my name. Purchase price changes, close of escrow typically changes, or I just put in 30 days as an automatic number that I can change when I'm, depending on the offer being written. Sometimes you put 21 days, 28 days, 14 days if it's a cash buyer, whatever your situation calls for. Expiration date we can leave blank. Initial deposit, it won't let me put 3%, right? But you can adjust it for your buyer's needs and for what the situation calls for. This is where if you were to click this FHA or VA button, it will automatically, when you're doing the contract, it will just add that in, so you don't have to necessarily have that preset. Let's see here. Now this is where you can kind of make some changes here on the assignment request. I actually have mine preset to 0. It just gives the buyer 17 days to assign the contract, which for most of our traditional buyers, you don't want that in there anyway. And for an investor, a savvy listing agent will see that, hey, you know what you're doing. That gives our investor buyers a way out of the deal by assigning it to someone else, unless that's what the deal calls for. The loan, I typically reduced it down to 14 days on the offer. On the appraisal, I have 12. Investigation of property, 7. Now, those are pretty tight timelines. Cindy will tell you that. So when you're writing the offer, make the adjustments you need to make on there. But generally speaking, we can go 14, 12. If you wanted to go no loan, no appraisal, that's a different story. But from a preset, generally speaking, this is what I'll have on there. And again, this is just to make it easier. So when you're writing these offers, you're not rehashing the same items every time. You can take a peek at it. Hey, okay, great, this fits the situation we're in. Proceed with the rest. Time of possession. I leave all of these timelines pretty much the same. The items included and excluded, I leave that blank. Natural hazards, so you want to just check off the bat, seller to pay, right? When it comes to reports, I leave those blank. Government required point of sale items, I put on the seller, smoke detector on the seller, government. Escrow fees, both sides to pay their own fees. Oh, I just realized something, shame on me. You actually have to reselect the escrow holder here. Title company, same thing. Owner's title policy, seller, escrow fees, I put, oh, here you go, never mind. Each to pay their own, that's what we used to physically write in there into our templates, there's now a checkbox for it. County transfer tax fees, seller, city transfer tax fees, seller, HOA fees, seller. Private transfer fees, seller, and it's already automatic, seller. And then home warranty, it's Old Republic, and I would put seller, home warranty plan, upgraded plan. Maximum. And then this, again, your call, if you're in a higher price point where the homes on average that you sell are gonna be more than 4,000 square feet, up that to about $1,100. Standard policy for most places would be about 575. And sometimes a lot lower if you're just doing a condo or a tiny house or a house that doesn't, for whatever reason, doesn't have an AC in it. Sometimes that happens. And then that's good. And that is, like, generally speaking, right? That's a typical offer where they're paying the transfer tax, the title, those basic items. Now, this is what I'm talking about, those additional addendums. These are already kind of built into to this. So if you're doing a manufactured home and you're writing it on this RPA, you can check that box under the transactional add it, right? I know some agents will say, well, I have a template for manufactured home, I have a template for vacant land. This actually kind of answered that because now everything is kind of wrapped up in here. And congratulations, you are done. That is a template. Once you have that, once you have that set, everything else is kind of really good to go. Making sure I'm not missing anything.
Question,
Sure.
where do you put in your brokerage and name in there for the template?
For the template, I have, so there's a cover sheet.
Oh, it's through the cover sheet.
Yeah, the cover sheet, and then once you plug in, obviously I didn't do it because I typed too slow. But once you put it all on this
Right, okay.
side here, your gravy, say gravy, so now we're just gonna write an offer. I'll take you to just one of my forms. So I think I started one called practice, did I not? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. So new purchase or offer. And I'll just type in practice again. AWFL. Awesome. And it's residential. It's already preset here as like my packet. Once you save the template, you can assign it as your residential purchase. Anytime you click that, I'll put save. And I'll just go through what I have. It's pretty much the same thing, just with the broker information. I do gotta say, I do have to clean mine up. It still has the old purchase agreement. Oh, and there's one more item, BRE, and I'll go back and show you what I put on there. But on the cover sheet, it's exactly the same thing. Yeah, so scroll up, check off one box for buyer. And so let's say my buyer is Monica Domestica, that's my wife. We don't have the same last name. And then we type in her email address, Monica KROQ at Yahoo. I never set her up for one. Oh my God. At yahoo.com. So I know her email, and then I'll show you how to get to seller information, but this is what I have here. Parkway Calabasas, Park Sorrento, all the general info. And then the magic button is MLS Connect. I believe all of us are CR MLS 1. And then let me just flip the, go back here real quickly. So, sorry guys, there's like so many windows on my screen. I'm kind of lost. All right, so let's say this is the property she's buying, and I have to log back in, of course. You guys want to know my password? It's 7 docs.
Mine too.
Yeah, yours too.
Oh my. And we have similar actually IDs.
Oh,
Mine
yeah.
is 27.
Oh, how cool. Is your license number
It's
start?
because Philip has so many contracts going on right now. That's why.
You're too kind, Mary. You're awesome.
Recording? Oh, great.
And then I'm just gonna pick a random MLS number here. So let's say this is the property that my client wants to buy. I'll open one window for the realist. And then the other window, I'll just copy the listing ID, Command C, then I will, sorry, I have to flip back to the shared screen here. So now I'm back, at least you guys are probably seeing it. So I'm back on here and I'll paste the MLS ID, include photo, find, and then it'll autofill all the listing agent's information, import. Yes, okay. Doesn't still have the seller information. Sometimes it does, if the listing agent input it in on the MLS, but now everything is filled out. I got the street address, I got the parcel number, the listing date, the listing price, the stuff that's included in the property, all those fun things, the year it was built, the unit number, and the key thing here, and they'll love you for it, is the listing information that they input it in. Sometimes it'll come out without the broker ID, and I just leave it on the buyer's agent, you know, and then that's on, the listing agent, and that's on them. But as far as everything else goes, it has their basic email. And as a rule of thumb, I never send the DocuSign to the listing agent. You know, it's sent to me as the agent to sign, sent to my buyers to sign. We get the full PDF and we just email it with all the supporting documents, proof of funds, pre-approval letter, review, FICO score, if you have all that stuff. And if you don't have it, you know, I found if you're really in a time crunch, don't bother your loan officer on a Saturday afternoon to get all that stuff, right? You know, the key is just CC your lender, whoever that is, and just say, hey, Cindy with, you know, Home Finance of America will reply all with the needed documentation once available. So that's my way of saying she'll get back to you or he'll get back to you on Monday, you know, and everyone's happy, right? Most listing agents will say presenting offers as they come in, but let's be real, they're gonna read it, they're gonna say, oh, this is a great offer, let me call the agent and work it out. Or they're gonna funnel it all into Monday night, Monday afternoon, Tuesday night. If they're really smart, they'll funnel it into Tuesday morning, present their offers then and get their counters out. But there's no reason to bother the team on the weekend to gather all the information up, you know. And worst case, if you needed it, because they're like, have you ever seen those agents who say, I want everything on one PDF? You know, I don't even know how to do it, right? Yeah, so.
Like a zip form or something like
Yeah.
that.
Right. I mean, thank God,
Like what
Maureen.
file you need?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to do it. Yeah, so you put it all in one PDF. I've done it by scanning, but and they want all that information. You don't have it, it's cool. Don't sweat the small stuff, right? Just figure, okay, great. I should have had it beforehand. You can show me this stuff. Let me make sure the loan officer, lender can get back to me whenever they can get back to me. There's no love lost there. Very rarely do I see people say Sunday night's the deadline. Yeah, because that's usually the weekend. People are just still seeing the house, but that's just food for thought on that. So all the information's on here, even has the homeowners association. I'm going to jump over to the California residential agreement. I'm going to go through this. And if you notice, I just skipped through everything here, right? Because it has oh, you know what? I totally forgot the seller. Guys, I'm so sorry. Gotta get fired.
Seriously.
Yeah. This is why I'm not in staff. All right, and then here you go. It has the full-on trust. This is the name. Now, sometimes on Real List, it'll have like a name. It'll say like name of record or name on record or record. It doesn't have any information. As a hack, go to RPR and then access, punch in the property address on there, scroll through, and then get the name on RPR. And then that's where you can see like, oh, okay, it's not record, it's Joey Ramos Trust or whatever it is. Copy and paste that instead.
So if it's not on Real List, it will be on RPR?
It'll have a different name, yeah. Like if you like for a client right now, when I did the listing, their name on Real List was still her dead husband or her deceased husband, his name. But I know it went through probate. On RPR, it actually said his name, John Stoledo, deceased, estate of John Stoledo. It was long, but that's her as the signer for the estate.
What about putting owner of record on the?
So if you put owner of record only, then the listing agent has one more step.
Yeah.
Like your offer is super clean, but now they have to counter you on the name. right? So if you make it 100 out of 100, and wow, seller's choice, excellent price, you know, we put in the terms, all this stuff, then they can just flat out accept your offer. Yeah, so part of the negotiation is when you call and you're, hey, Emilio, this is Philip. Thank you so much for the opportunity of showing your client's home. To make it easier for you guys, what terms can we add into the purchase agreement that'll just make this easier and maybe just make it stand out above the rest outside of price, right? And Emilio can tell me, hey, we want a COE +5. Great. We want this title company. Great. We want this escrow company. Great. Whatever it is, we'll give it to them. We'll give it to you guys.
So you base it off of that, so you don't do open public or seller's choice, you choose one or the other based on speaking to the agent, right?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes they'll just say, just put seller's choice and it's already preset. And
But you don't
sometimes,
do one or the other, you don't do both, right? You have to write seller's choice, you can't do open public.
well, on my template, it says over public or seller's
So
choice.
you send it like that?
Yeah, because
Okay.
or it gives the option,
Okay,
you know, and then so I mean, they tell me lawyer's title, and I find out that the rep is Sandy Kraus. I'm like, oh, hey, I know Sandy Kraus. That's awesome. I'm glad that you're working with her. Tell me when, whatever. It's like a basis of a relationship. And then the networking, just kind of throw this out there, it pays off big because you just never know who you're doing deals with on the other side. And you can just reference like, hey, I know, you know, so-and-so, you know, tell me more about your guys's, you know, business or whatever at Fill in the Blank Brokerage. All those little things go a long way, if that makes sense. Let me go back real quickly because this was only supposed to take 15 minutes and here we are like 20 minutes into it. So sorry guys. Cover sheet, I have the seller's name here as a trust. So it's already checked off. Control V, edit, or just remove that portion. So now it has the seller's name throughout the whole thing. Now this is the part where the 5 minutes kicks in. Sorry guys. So we have all that information in, or I should say the next 3 minutes. The date is today. That's our date prepared, and that's our contract date as well. Everything else has been checked off. You notice here purchase price. I'm just gonna make it easy. 700,000. It's not all cash. There were it'll remove loan contingency. It'll remove appraisal contingency. A lot of things go out the window. I don't put an expiration date. I believe it's built in for 3 days. Oh yeah, 3 days. Earnest money deposit at the consultation. We always tell our clients, hey, make our offer stand out. It's we go for the max 3%. This in case 21,000. Loan amount, just for sake of argument, let's say my wife's doing 10% down. So I know that that's 70,000 minus 700,000 comes out to $630,000 for our first loan, and that's 90%. You know, for kids, let's say it's an FHA loan, and it'll autofill an FHA addendum. Shows balance down payment. And now verification, you might already have it attached, so you don't have to necessarily check anything here. And then, oh, it's not on
it
this
didn't,
template.
right? It didn't.
Yeah, it didn't catch, but I think it's my old one. So maybe it connected to the wrong one. So sorry, guys, but it should have everything here. Oh, I know what happened. I haven't set up the template on my actual general purchase agreement. I've been typing it in myself. All right, so I'll change it. But typically all this would be set. I go to back and then I'll just go to e-sign. All right, well, I said say it was an FHA loan, right? Oops. So on the FHA one, the only thing you'd have to change here is putting the 700,000 or whatever the value that you're offering. You can probably just hit MLS here or e-sign, and then you can create it, add your residential purchase agreement, change the order if you're a stickler for that like me, and then and I usually put the address, and I'll put our offer. Our offer. Swap it over to DocuSign. Everyone here has DocuSign, right? Okay, cool. It's all free through KW. Okay. I'll click my name, buyer's name. Oh, I didn't click the buyer's name. Add signature. Buyer's and if you miss the email, you can add it in here. It'll just have to be something you do every time unless it's on the cover sheet. Close. Next. If you want to do a double check, you can scroll through it. In other words, in any case, it'll just have everything that where every party needs to sign, at least fire and myself, ready to go. And you just hit send. My wife's gonna get and wonder what the heck is this? So I'm just gonna,
What are they?
what's going
Put an
on?
offer
Philip, wanna
on.
buy a house in
Buy a house, 700, it's crazy, right? But yeah, there you go. That was an offer explained in 25 minutes, but done in like less than 5 minutes, right? Hey,
Probably
yeah,
like,
man, you're
we're
good.
moving again, Philip.
I know. Yeah, so
Awesome.
that's that. So I'm gonna have a special guest speaker of Rookie of the Year. Switch the share. Let me see here.
How do I do that?
Great question. Well, let me find. Are you logged in? You just have to log into the Zoom, and then I'll admit you, and then make you the co-host. So something I've noticed with what we do, like as we know, it's personal, professional development, keeping a well-balanced, home life. So that's like this column. This column, it's like, hey, you need to get to work, right? And in this column, it's like this ongoing way to grow your leverage, your support, understanding how to kind of optimize the resources that are here already. Oh, you did it yourself, thank you. Or if you, yep, you're here. And then we make you pin? No, not pin. Ask to start video.
Or you do make the host, right?
How do you?
But I have the control over here, though, so just
Oh, okay, there you go. Never mind, you're in charge.
go break out.
Now go to participants. This one, yeah, there you go. And then click find your name and then more. And then make co-host or make host. There you go. Perfect. Make host, and then that way you can also have, and then you can go to share screen. Let me stop my share. There we are.
How do I do that?
And then click under share on your computer screen.
Oh,
And then it'll give you an option to pick which window. So you have your reason why, you have your family, you have your development, your personal development on one end, your lead generating, working your tail off on this side. This side here is the systems, right? It's like, where do you funnel all that stuff into? Because the reality is when we make calls, the first call isn't usually the first appointment, right? If you follow up 12 to 14 times, you have a 90% chance of doing business with them at some point in that timeline. Outside of someone, passing away, they do business with someone else, that naturally, all these things happen. But, we're not going to keep them top of mind because we're thinking of what we're doing later today, right? And when someone says, hey, I want to sell my house, but not for another 2 years, which really probably means 1 year. And we're like, awesome, I got a lead. And then we go on to the next 50 calls and we totally forget about Philip and Monica who said they wanted to sell their house in 2 years. But if we have a funnel to say, hey, they're not ready right now, but I'm going to send them a postcard. I'm going to call them every 3 months. I'm going to send them some market updates, maybe once a month, auto plan it through command, all this stuff. Then 2 years could be 6 months, or 2 years could be a year, or 2 years could be 2 months, right? But now that's a leverage system that says, hey, I don't have to think about them until it pops up, right? Because we have so much stuff, so much shit to do in the course of a day. We're totally forgetting them. I went back when I started coaching. So I started in 14, got a coach in 18. And one of my homework assignments was to go back to my stacked pile of leads and my phone and make contact with them. 200 calls in, I found out that 40 people had bought or sold a home in the time that I didn't contact them.
Wow.
Okay, ouch, big time ouch. Now, these were people that I had at my house, had at parties. This is SOI, like low hanging fruit that bought in Lancaster, wherever they bought, right? And those are 40 deals that I could have done in that period of time. And I just was constantly looking for the brand new, right? You call it turn and burn, just call it, hey, I was working, that feeling of working. So Emilio, please take it away on what you do. And those online or those who are watching recorded, this is where you want to be. Might be muted on your side. There you
Am I good there?
go. You have to mute your.
You got it.
So then this one's on,
Oh, are we good?
or you have to mute this computer. So you either mute your laptop or mute this one.
Oh, this is going good. Is that better?
No.
Or actually,
Still gone.
your speaker, turn your speaker to mute.
There.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, still on.
No,
Do you know how to mute yourselves?
I think I do. Hello, hello.
Just make your computer period.
What's that?
Mute your laptop.
Oh,
I don't hear anything.
It's on your bottom left. Oh no.
No, you just
yeah, if you can.
Just go to.
We're out of space.
Oh, okay, I just needed you. Okay, there you
All right,
Finally.
go. All right.
All right, so here we go. So sorry about that, guys. All right, so pretty much what, kind of piggybacking on what Philip was talking about. You definitely want to make sure you first start off by importing all your database into command, what I'm using, right, or whatever CRM you're gonna be using. So I'm just gonna choose, for example, client that I'm working on with right now, right? So this is a first-time home buyer, and I want to set them up.
Make sure you hide their number.
Call them
Honor system.
Right, so you want to make sure that they're educated on the home purchasing process, right? So if I go to a smart plan here and I'll add a smart plan, I already have set up different smart plans where if I go to bottom here, where it says E+Instant Journal, that's just the way I named it. You can click on that and you can start their smart plan. So for example, I have my first consult with Brenda Pena. I'll let Brenda know that after this phone call, you're going to be receiving a set of emails. I'm going to walk you through the home buying process. And then after each email that you get, if you like, we can set up a second consult, maybe at the end of the week.
Is that the second window by any chance? Or is that a second window? It's weird. You have to like flip the share between the two if you open a new window.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there you go.
Right. So you can see it even gives you steps on, what they're going to be receiving. Right. So one of the things that I do as a best practice before I send something out to a client, I will actually email it to myself by setting myself up as a contact. Right. And then I know what they're going to be getting. Right. So after we have the initial consult, I'll let them know they'll be receiving a set of emails. After each email, if you have any questions, if you want to have a recap, meeting at the end of the week, and what all this means, then we set that up.
Nice.
So this is good for our first-time home buyers. There's different templates that you can use. I wanted to share this because this client actually reached out and says, my last agent that I worked with didn't give me any of this information. I'm brand new to the process, and I really appreciate you sending this out to me. And this actually won this client over because her husband was really adamant about using somebody they knew, right? And so once she kind of convinced them that, we're working with the right people, right? We got our lender involved. We got all our team involved to make sure that they feel comfortable.
Nice.
And behind this, just this automatic email that they're getting on a daily basis, every other day, you can kind of see it sets it up depending on how often you want them to get it, right? And that really went a long way.
Now let's say I'm setting up my my smart plan, so I'm totally zero. Do you get that from on the left-hand side on your smart plans, and then you kind of add that to your template list, or did you create it from scratch?
No, yeah, so there's I think it's under campaigns, is it?
Campaigns, either that or smart plans. You go to campaigns, I'll go to smart. Oh, okay. So in that one, campaigns, that's where you auto, that's where our guy, so just keep in mind, you can do a ton of stuff on your own through command. I'll just be just transparent with you guys. I did none of that. I got smart plans, opportunity pipeline follow-up, and then converted to hiring a BA. Now, I think everyone here will benefit way more if you guys have the semblance of what to do, so you can teach your VA what to do. And then, just kind of get right into them running the business as opposed to creating steps for us. So just kind of pick and choose your adventure when it comes to that. Working to my strengths, I knew that what Emilio's doing wasn't one of my strengths. So if you happen to resonate more with Emilio, I'm like, man, I could take an hour a day and build this out. Thumbs up. Yeah. So Emilio, keep going, sir.
Yeah, so I'm trying to, because I haven't done it in a while, to be quite honest with you, that you're setting up a smart plan.
Yeah, smart plans on the left-hand side. And by the way, Veronica's bringing to us command parties. So Veronica and Joey, they both had an idea of doing the command party. And welcome to the very half hybrid first one. So next time we do this, we're gonna have probably food for lunch because it's weird to be 1 o'clock without eating. But we'll do more of a party the next time around. We'll have different people. I'd rather have you and Joey do it, and then we'll rotate around on how to leverage command and do different things with it. And wherever the group needs to go, that's how we'll take it.
All right, so over here to the left-hand side of the screen, if you click on KW in the red here, it'll give you the options, right? So if we click on smart plans, it'll take you to all the different smart plans that are already preset. If I go to library, it'll give you a breakout of what each preset's already there, right? So a lot of times I'll use the long-term nurture 5x5 or the 8x8. Right? That's just how many contacts you want to make with that particular client. One that I'm big on is bi-weekly neighborhood nurture and then a quarterly call plan. Those are two things that once I input somebody into my command, those are the two things that I am gonna make sure we set them up on. Right.
Amelia, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I think one time you told me that these bi-weekly plans, they have listings that you don't see on MLS. Is that true? Or
Yeah,
no?
actually, yeah, so
Possible, yeah.
that's a great point. Yeah, so I'll cover that right now in a minute. So
If someone bypasses their MLS and puts it on KWLS, then technically that would be something exclusive to the Keller Williams network.
yeah, so I'll touch on that in a minute. So two things that I always set up everybody on is depending on how often they're wanting to receive the neighborhood nurture, it's either the bi-weekly or the monthly. But I always set them up on a quarterly plan, so it'll automatically remind you when to contact these clients, right? So going back to Philip's point, is we don't want to miss any opportunities, right? Now, if I go back to my contacts, and let's say you have somebody set up on a quarterly plan, right? And I'll just go into this gentleman here. So right now I have him set up on a monthly plan, so he'll be able to get the neighborhood watch on a monthly basis, and then the quarterly call, right? Say I wanted to get in contact with him a little bit sooner than that, I could always create task, and then enter in here, whatever, right? Follow up
Falafel.
on rental.
Oh, real quick side note, remember when we're practicing, we're always like hard about get an email address. This is part of the reason why. You might know where they live because you're physically at the door or you're looking at a title list or you know them. But by plugging in their address, you can zero in on the neighborhoods around them, and that's the updates they get. And then the email is just the one, or in this case bi-weekly, so they get it 15 times versus 12. That's actually genius. So I'm actually trying to download it now, but it's frozen on my side. But thanks, Julio.
And so once you create that task, you can even set a date, right? So let's say I talked to him today, I want to talk to him again on Wednesday because he really needs that rental.
Got
Wants to
notified.
be in that property by the end of the month, right? So I apply, I create task, and that gives you a reminder here for next week. So when I'm starting out my day, the first thing I do is I'll have my MLS and I'll have my command up, right? And it'll tell me everybody that I have to follow up with on this main screen, right? So by next Wednesday, when I set up that particular client, I want to follow up, it'll pop up on my screen here for me to contact them, right? So we're never missing any of these good contacts, right? So any questions on that?
Where do you see it when you go, so once you set them up, right? Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Are you saying how does it remind you?
No, that's when you set them up on it, on the smart plan. But when you created the smart planner initially, do you do it through the contacts and then?
Right,
So you
right.
have to add it when you're under smart plan on the left-hand side,
Uh-huh,
and then you're on that window.
Yeah, so here, if I go
It'll,
to smart plan.
yeah, if you add it to your general library from smart plan, and
okay.
you click on quarterly, bi-weekly follow-up. I also do birthday, home anniversary, and then once you add it to your library, under your contact, you click smart plan, and then it'll be like whatever the 4 or 5 options that you added on there
Oh, so you add them there, you choose which smart.
per
plans you set up.
contact, right?
Oh, okay.
And I think you can bulk contact it too.
You can
do it.
There you go.
Have to type them.
See, this is why we need the command part.
Yeah, we have command party.
I found that out recently. I've been going through each person, put on a quarterly. I found that from our VA, you could just.
What's a good recommendation, like bulk, if I just start off and I have nothing set up, what should I start with? Like,
Okay,
what
look up-
categories?
Bi-weekly and quarterly.
But don't do them all at one time, otherwise you'll have 4,000 people to call on day one and
Right.
then, look up D2, who wants a bold, do the database too, D2, right?
Right.
So you don't necessarily have to pay for the coaching, but the coaching is only $35, not a pitch, but they do a class twice a week on, I want to say Monday and Thursday. And the Monday class is live with the actual instructors. Thursday, it's with it's usually a guest, and it's all about working your database. So like, how they used to say on week 1, you're calling all the A's and the Y's, and then in week 2, you're calling the B's and the Z's, and you're just kind of working through. That's a more systematic way to do it. And you can filter it based on last name by letter, and then you can tag them all for whatever date you want to start the quarterly call on. And then that's how you systematically approach it, right? Go from there. Otherwise, like what we did with my VA, you put them all on the same day. So there's some growing pains, right? And you put 4,000 people for the same day to be called, and now I have an infinite list of, did not call, right? Hopefully that answered your question there.
Yeah, that did, thank you.
Yeah, so, once that you get the initial setup, so I really took fourth quarter as doing this because I knew starting January, I was really gonna focus with this database, right? So then it'll just start automatically popping up, and it's easier for you to follow up with clients, and then, it's a good follow-up system. Right? So Mona, remind me again what you were asking me about the,
So you know how sometimes you can see listings on command that you don't see on the MLS?
right?
So not just like for a particular client, but if you in general wanted to utilize that, is there a way you do that without using the smart plan, or you just use the smart plan to do that?
So what I typically do is I'll use the KW app. I'll forward it to a client and I'll give them a phone call. I'll have an initial conversation with them and say, I'm going to send you over my app. On this app, you're going to be receiving coming soon properties that the general public's not receiving. Right. So
So it's not active, it's only coming soon.
it's active and coming soon, but in today's market where we want to be ahead of it, it helps them understand, okay, this is the reason why this is important. Right. So
Sorry, I'm like, this is like one of the things I really need to grow and I need to do right now, so I'm like still new to it, but do you guys, and I think I asked you that, do you set them up on the MLS too and on the app? Cause then they'll get both of the
it
notifications.
depends on how
Serious there?
how much of an urgency there is. Right. So
Okay.
for example, I have a client right now that we've been looking for a few weeks now. Right. I wanted him to be able to receive on a daily basis all the properties that are going to be hit.
Okay,
Because if you set them up on a smart plan, it's only bi-weekly or monthly, they may miss out that week of properties that come online. Right, so that's why I always try to educate them on why each one of them is important. Right? I'm gonna send you over my website. You'll be able to then download the website, be able to see what properties are coming soon. So that way, if we want to go see properties, let's say this coming Saturday, everything that hit the MLS that day on Friday, you'll be able to see it on there. Right?
but you can set it up that way on the MLS too, right? Like when you.
Coming soon is right. Yeah, so to Mona's point is, since we're all part of one association, at least I am, right? You may not see somebody, let's say, for example, Santa Clarita, right? Somebody in Palmdale or Lancaster that has a listing there, we may not be privy to that property. Right, so that's why that's important.
So let's say you had somebody looking in Woodland Hills. Everything that would be active would be on the MLS because everybody in Woodland Hills would be part of the same association.
Right.
Or no, because
Yeah.
maybe there's an agent that's like in San Francisco and they're
Right.
selling their families on it.
Yeah, you would think because we're part of that association, right? So anything outside of our association, or if it's an agent that is listing a property, let's say in Ventura, that we're not part of that association, we may not see it on our MLS.
Christmas data is pretty vast, but you're right, we miss High Desert, Antelope Valley, Gavar has their thing.
Right.
And that's where the networking aspect comes into big play. A lot of the referral leads we send out, we get through KW Connect, and we just go through a search process there. And we made some decent referral money. I think last year we made $11,000 in referrals. That's just,
Right.
hey, good luck, you know, and this month or next, we're getting one closed for 4,000 in new construction, you know, that was a year process. You know, so probably, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
So you do see those through the app?
right.
So one thing I wanted to mention, because I've had, and this was for leases,
Mhm.
actually, and I think for home for sale, clients would like send me a picture of something they saw online, and then I check on the MLS, and it would be like sold like 3 years ago.
Right.
So do you have that same issue with the website and now? Because I think like, not recently, but like a year ago, I had that issue, so I stopped sending people my app and my website.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I first joined the brokerage, I think they were switching over, and I think when Scott Malloy took it over,
Mhm.
he really did a good job of making sure that it was more accurate. Right, and because my experience with it has always been a positive one, but I did hear from other agents, I don't use it for that same reason.
Yeah.
So you feel it's improved?
Well, I only know that, yeah, I didn't know what it was before, right?
So,
You know, yeah,
So now it is improved and it's.
yeah,
another thing that the reason why you want to use the command instead of the MLS. Yes, MLS in most occasions will be more updated, but the presentation on command is much better.
Way cleaner.
And another thing, because you're gonna see the school system, you're gonna see the restaurants, you're gonna see Yelp review. And if you really want to be nerdy about it, instead of you using the neighborhood nurture, you can go to the account and then just go to the save search. I don't know if you're familiar with the
No,
save search.
I'm learning now.
So save search, it's gonna give you more options like how many bedrooms, square footage, instead of you just sending all the listings available. So if you wanna really tailor fit according to your client's needs.
So in that case, you actually need a phone number rather than the email in order to send
Email,
them
yeah,
the app.
it's all about email.
Oh,
So
it's email.
It's
So you
email, so
email them the app?
as long as you have the email address, and it works well for sellers. If you're nurturing a seller, this is really helpful. And if, I got lost. Yeah, you just need to get the email and you can monitor if they're looking at it. I think, I'm sure really will.
So,
yeah, I'm gonna illustrate up here,
Yeah.
Salima, if you're okay with that.
yeah, sure.
Right, so let me back up here because I wanted to show you this and then I'll go into that contact. So from your main contact list, here, if you go to recently active, once you get them set up on this, you'll start noticing that your clients are actually looking at what you're sending them. And that's powerful for us because it doesn't go on deaf ears, right? It's something that they're actually looking at and it's important to them, right? So for
So when
example,
it doesn't work?
yeah, so if you see under recently actives,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
it tells you what date they actually logged in and looked at the information that you sent them.
And it shows you which information they looked at?
Yes. Yeah, so if I go into Mark and Olga, we just had a listing of this morning. And so you're able to put all your notes and then what they actually looked at, right? So this is huge because it tells you what they're interested in. Right, so from there, you can have a conversation around that, eliminate properties that you may be sending them that is not relevant and just make it more accurate, right? Because our job is to make it as seamless as possible for our client, right? And try to get them into that property as quickly as possible. So name, phone number, and email are the major things. And then if you look at here, you can enter their address and secondary emails and spouse information. And it goes deeper than that, right? So kind of what Joey was doing after here is you have the neighborhood searches here, right? So if I preview this, this is what the client's getting. And this is pretty powerful stuff if you don't know the area. right? So I was working with a client in Oceanside. I don't know Oceanside, this helped me educate myself, right? So what's around Valley Circle, right? It not only gives you the average price point or price per square foot, how many days on market, but it also talks about the neighborhood. So this is huge for clients that are coming from out of town or somebody that doesn't know the area. You want to educate them on the school systems, what's around, what restaurants are around.
So that answers the question of using that versus the MLS, because you have all that information that you don't need to research and put in extra work, it's already provided.
Do you also use this as an alternative to the MLS sometimes if somebody's looking in a particular neighborhood instead of an entire city?
Yeah, yeah, so I mean, you can really detail it to your client, right, and what they want, right? So it's a good question to have on the initial consult is, you know, if you know your client, they're coming from out of town. I was dealing with 2 clients last year that were coming from Manhattan, New York, and they didn't know anywhere came from LA. So I would send them this and I would jump on a weekly Zoom call with them. And this was huge for them. They were able to look at daycares for their child, you know, all that good stuff. So.
My mind's blown right now because I'm actually looking at that search criteria for the very first time. Like the actual search on the KW app here on command. I'm going through it like, holy smokes, this is pretty incredible.
I'm gonna kick it back over to you, Philip, because I think I'm timed out, right?
No, you're good, man. So check this out. I plugged in for Canoga Park active listings, and it has one that is not on MLS. So if you look up 8129 Kelvin Avenue, it's all on here, 718,000. When you look on Matrix, it doesn't exist. It's not on our MLS.
Wow.
So that's a prime example of properties that are on the KWLS site, but not on under active, but not on the actually a bunch of them. And crazy me, I have a past client who under recently active, she's been looking at homes like crazy apparently all over Coima. And that's where we sold her home. But it's like, dude, it's like 50 interactions. Guess who's getting a phone call today? Right? Like, holy smokes. So I'm geeking out right now. Like, this is insane. So anyways, I go back on that list, Kelvin, I don't know how I found it. But yeah, there's like a ton of properties without pictures on them. So I guess these are agents who like uploaded them, but they just haven't, you know, fed it into the MLS. Man, this could be our next call. What do you guys think? If you guys are open to one.
If you have like 2 minutes, I do have a quick question. So back to when you were doing the zip forms, before you.
Great job, Amelia, by the way.
It's okay, good, thanks. So before you pulled up the cover letter and started typing information, can you show me again where you went, if you don't mind?
Yes. Amelia, can you make me or can I just share screen?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're back
Oh,
up.
cool. So this is me geeking out. Obviously, this is Iowa because I hit the wrong button, but I was looking at Canoga Park initially and found like 6 homes, essentially none on MLS. Crazy. Come here. Let me just. Sorry, guys. Hang on. I have to. Oh no, it's not open anymore. Okay, let me go realty. What was the question again? There was like something on
So
cover sheet
before
or-
you pull up the cover letter to input your information, where do you go exactly?
Got it. So I did the, where you go? Oh, you're not seeing it. Let me change this share screen. Okay, we go. Okay, so under template, or you're saying that I'm writing a new contract?
Yeah, so you're writing a new contract. Before you pull up the cover sheet, what do you do exactly? So you go to templates or?
Go to transaction, and then I'll hit new transaction. And then I'll say, let's see, and then I'll go to new, let's see, new purchase or offer.
Or it would be new listing.
Right, and I'll just type in I'm learning how to
And
type.
then once you click save, you just like go on the right search bar and then you do cover letter and then RPA and all that stuff.
Right. And then, well, if I click, I guess this is where I was wrong. I don't know if it was purchase, practice KWFL.
Because I wasn't sure if you were doing like a different way, because I already know how to do this way, but there's a way I think like you can go into, something else and then input your information like your DRE, your name.
Oh, okay, yeah, so you go to the templates, so you do that one time, and then you make that your template going forward. So I actually have to edit my general purchase product package, but that one, you can go in there. When you have the cover sheet, you add the California residential purchase agreement, a BRE would be helpful, and a BCO, buyer counter offer.
So you go to templates, new, and then
Template, new, and then you would go to new purchase or offer.
and then you would just input your basic information. That way you don't have to keep doing it every time you have a new transaction in client.
Right, exactly. Now, if it's the same client writing on a new property, I just overwrite the current one. So for example,
Can you show us how to do that? If you don't mind.
oh yeah, totally. So if I go to dashboard or actually transactions, perfect example. I think Rick, you've been showing homes with Joe and Monica for like a year and a half, long time. Yeah, well, check this out. So if I go to documents, this is a real life finder. Finally under contract today. Woo! 1,050,000 in Eaglewood. That's crazy. But if you see all these PDFs here, or all one offer, two offers, three offers, four offers, fifth offer that we finally got accepted. And I actually think I had to reset it because there was another one where, you know, the contracts changed, right? So there's another file of them down there. But this is an example. So if you notice here, this is 5 different sellers, 5 different properties. All you do is you go to coverage, or you could have done it the previous page, but you just go to MLS Connect, and then whatever the MLS is, find, I think it'll be the same line. Yeah, that's the one we wrote on, but you would just change the MLS number and then apply it, save, and then go to your, it'll overwrite all the previous information that was covered from the
Like
MLS.
offer number, the terms.
Yeah, well, the terms, yeah, some of it will change, and then you just have to go back in and change the
And
seller
then would it
name.
auto put like the broker's like ID? and-
Yes, the whatever the listing agent input it into the MLS. Yeah, and then you don't have to create a new file unless you think like, hey, I want to just keep a running track this way. It's your call. For me, I just figured we're either going to do business with that house or we're back up and we go back and just pick up where we left off. So guys, hopefully that helped. I'll talk to Stephanie. Maybe if you guys want to do this more like bi-weekly on that note and have like a party, and maybe we can get someone to sponsor pizza or Chinese food or something like that. That'd be cool. So thank you guys online for those who hung in there with us, and everyone take care. All right, any questions for our group since we're here? Yeah, or anyone online? No? Awesome, let's go crush it. Take care.